done it. And now he's back for his senior year. He's undefeated on the season so far.
Filipowicz shaking everybody's hand in the building. What a gentleman. Then he spits on his hands.
Then he gets ready to go.
At least he didn't spit on his hands and then shake the referee's hands.
Yeah, there you go. He's doing it in the right order. A Southern gentleman.
Yeah. So how we raise the kids in the South. Shake everybody's hands first, then you can spit on your hands.
There you go. We are in the South here. We're in Chattanooga, Tennessee. University of Tennessee, Chattanooga has Filipowicz in on a single leg shin whizzer from Bianchi.
Underhook knee pull, and Bianchi pressures back in. Filipowicz rolls through.
Just going with the flow there, but I don't know if he was expecting to do that kind of move.
Yeah. Looks like Bianchi's looking to duck here. He's got Flipowicz's leg straightened out, and straight legs are light legs, bent legs are heavy, so when you're in these scrambles, you want to get your leg bent or they're going to straighten it out and pass it.
Long scramble to kick things off, about 1 minute into the bout. No score yet.
That's a good little opening scramble there, and Bianchi did pretty much what he needed to do. Other than counter and completely score, he did the right stuff there. So talking about Filipowicz being a scrambler and Bianchi just being this kind of straight up, hard nose into your wrestler, he showed some scrambling chops there.
Yeah, that's that action. We have been treated this Southern Scuffle as we're about halfway through at this point for these finals. Guys are leaving it all on the mat. There were some forfeits in the semifinals. There were some forfeits on day 2, but that happens at every tournament. And I think overall, there's been a high level of scrappiness, the scrappy-tude meter, whatever it would be.
100%. It's been chippy.
Wrestling on the far side of the mat.
And Filipowicz putting Bianchi on the outside circle.
Yeah, you see him thumb blocking, keeping Bianchi at bay. Now they strut back to the center. Both have a little bit of the arm shake to keep things loose here in the center, like they're ready to pounce.
And if I'm Bianchi, I got to make a note that Filipowicz punched that underhook and went knee pick on me, or went knee pull on me real quick. So that was a 1-2 punch for Filipowicz to get to that leg earlier. And this could be a strategy here by Filipowicz coming out and wanting to put Bianchi on his back foot and make him wrestle outside. So far, it's working.
Yeah, he seems to be taking more territory. Bianchi's got to be careful here at the edge of the mat. Stall call could be imminent. Now they circle back to the center again, although Filipowicz never lets him get all the way back to the center. He still holds a little bit of the ground there.
And that's one of those, like, if you're not a guy that pushes guys to the edge and keeps them there, even though that's your strategy in a match, sometimes you forget, right? Because that's not how you wrestle all the time. And, like, if I'm in Flipowicz's corner, I'm like, man, if you put that guy on the circle, you make him circle back in. You make him earn that right.
Yeah.
You don't just give him the free reset back in the center.
Yeah, you never know when you might catch something, an opportunity would present himself, because he's got to worry about the out of bounds more than keeping good position or 100%. What have you.
Yep. It's all about putting them where they're not used to wrestling.
So the second period begins. The West Pointer will be on the bottom position. The Trojan of Little Rock gets on top. They get a clean start.
Bianchi was wanting a little more space there on the, I think, the belly button. Filipowicz was kind of closing him off with his thigh, but
yeah, he was
not an illegal start.
Sunk back pretty deep, but as you said,
little shrug position into a half Granby. Can't Granby when they're stepped over your ankle, but that was a nice little shrug.
Yeah, Filipowicz just barely avoided a match-winning takedown in the semis with that kind of roll. That was an exciting one.
Yeah, this kid's creative, man. He wrestles in a lot of unorthodox positions, and he keeps working here. He could go front leg there, Wayne's roll. Now he's split in the middle. Bianchi looking to trap an arm and just creating a little chaos there on the edge, and he gets the escape. And most guys in that situation, they want a fresh start.
Yeah. Right? Filipowicz just started crowding immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, his match with Seafelt of UPenn. That was a exciting one. If you want to look at some archives, highly recommend that one.
He's back to that underhook, right side. Shut down by Bianchi, but this is an interesting look at Bianchi right now, not being able to back Filipowicz up, not being able to get his attacks off. See if he makes some adjustments. Re-attack here, or actually counter-attack from Filipowicz. Sits through, splits the middle. If you ask John Smith, this is the best way to hit an Iranian because it hides your ankles.
They're at the edge of the mat. They have some space to work, but we may get a stalemate.
He's over the leg right here. He might be better off working for a danger call. I don't know, he gets the head across. Ooh, and Bianchi's watching that line and just scooted and pulled back.
Yeah. Said we've had enough of that position. We're going to go back to the center. Just 14 seconds left here in the second period. It's 1-0 and only 48 seconds of riding time for Bianchi.
I'm highly impressed at the adjustments Filipowicz has made here.
Yeah, he's taken everything Bianchi's thrown at him so far and held his ground and then some. There's Steve Blyce in the corner. Yep, right there. He's been doing most of his coaching from the kneeling position, trying to get it just as close as possible to his athletes on that little coaching area line. He stayed on board, as did Scott Green, when Troy Nickerson came over to be the new head coach of Army. As the third period gets underway, right out as Bianchi runs out of that bottom position to make it 1-1. And he goes right after Filipowicz.
Yeah, Bianchi starting to impose his aggression a little bit more.
You start to feel him kind of running downhill a little bit more. He's starting to get on the downward trend, at least as far as putting more pressure on Filipowicz.
And that's the flip side of it too. If you're wrestling an aggressive guy and you're gonna flip the script on him early, they're used to being in a street fight for 7 minutes. If you're not,
yeah,
it's a totally different world. So
it looks like Bianchi has got plenty left in the tank here. Filipowicz was kind of sliding on a hip, almost had a single leg. There's an attack from Bianchi. Filipowicz countering.
And that's what you do. You take Bianchi's aggression and you try to redirect it into counterattacks, and that's what Filipowicz is actually doing a good job of right now.
This would be a big win for Army. This is an EIWA squad taking on a Pac-12 squad. A lot of people might forget Little Rock is in the Pac-12 and still are for this season. We'll see how that conference unfolds going forward.
You talk about building a program, and then you ask them to build a program kind of in the middle of nowhere when it's relate to other Division I teams. Like your travel, like
yeah,
you're kind of like
you're not in the middle of Pennsylvania where you got a bus ride to all of your goals.
And hustling here to a short drag. Here's Bianchi. Filipowicz kind of showed Granby in the middle of it. Bianchi just chased down the angle. 30 seconds left in the period, and we got a 4-1 lead for Bianchi just like that.
Yeah, and that shows some experience too. Filipowicz a little too many times to the well with the Granby rollout when he's trying to defend the go behind, and Bianchi saw it, shut it down, got that, made it look easy. Definitely not easy, but it took some savviness.
Yeah, and when you're wrestling a guy that you know is going to Granby on you, or just in general, you don't want to chase the waist, right? Because when you chase the waist instead of the hamstring or the ankle, like the Granby's there. But man, I think as coaches, we always want to go back and talk about the stuff that we did wrong in a match. Man, Filipowicz did a lot of stuff right in that match.
Yeah, another highly entertaining, great scrappiness, good grit, sportsmanship from both those guys, but it's Bianchi that takes it. Little Rock, big up to the Trojans.
Yep.
Let's see some of those moves again.